the summer of 2010, Jeffrey Epstein was no longer an unknown financier with powerful friends. He was a convicted sex offender, recently released from a Florida jail, serving a controversial work release sentence that allowed him to leave confinement for large portions of the day. Officially disgraced, publicly exposed, and yet, astonishingly, still connected. Thousands of miles away from London under the restrictions of house arrest, Epstein continued to send emails, arrange meetings, and offer advice to figures embedded in the British establishment. Newly examined correspondence from that period reveals something unsettling. Despite his conviction for procuring a minor for prostitution, he retained access to princes, former cabinet ministers, and global bankers. To understand the weight of those emails, you have to step back. Jeffrey Epstein built his reputation in the 1980s and 1990s as a mysterious, well-connected financier. He moved in elite circles, Wall Street executives, politicians, royalty, academics. He cultivated influence not through public visibility, but through private access. His wealth was opaque, his clients were secretive, his social calendar was extraordinary. By the mid-2000s, accusations began surfacing from young women who described sexual abuse at his properties in Florida, New York, and beyond. In 2008, Epstein secured a plea deal widely criticized as unusually lenient. He served 13 months in a county jail, much of it under a work-release arrangement that allowed him to continue operating parts of his financial affairs. For many observers, that plea agreement symbolized the protective power of elite networks, but what happened after his release is in some ways even more revealing. June 2010. Epstein had been out of jail for less than a year. The scandal was known, the conviction was public, yet emails show him advising and coordinating with prominent British figures as if nothing had changed. At that time, Prince Andrew, then known formally as Andrew Mountbatten, Windsor, remained the United Kingdom's special representative for international trade and investment. His public role involved building business relationships abroad. His association with Epstein had already raised eyebrows, but he maintained that contact was limited. Former Labour cabinet minister Peter Mandelson had just left government following Labour's general election defeat. Once a central political operator, Mandelson was reassessing his future outside office. Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York and Andrew's former wife, was reportedly facing serious financial strain. Within this environment, Epstein's emails reveal a pattern. He positioned himself as connector, advisor, facilitator. On June 14, 2010, Epstein encouraged Prince Andrew to meet Jess Staley, a senior banker at JP Morgan. Staley had long known Epstein and would later resign as chief executive of Barclays amid scrutiny over that relationship. In the messages, Epstein suggested that Andrew also meet a woman described in correspondence as very pretty, who was connected to him. Andrew appeared receptive, asking who she was. Epstein responded with casual familiarity, describing her as a close friend. He encouraged her to reply to the prince's outreach. Days later, emails suggest that meetings took place in London. Epstein, still under house arrest in the United States, asked for feedback on how the encounter had gone. At the same time, he was receiving updates from lawyers about ongoing legal pressures connected to abuse allegations in Florida. The contradiction is striking. Publicly, Prince Andrew would later tell the BBC in 2019 that he had cut off contact with Epstein after his conviction, stating there had been no communication while Epstein was serving his sentence. Yet the June 2010 emails appear to suggest otherwise. Ongoing coordination during the period shortly after Epstein's release. Prince Andrew has consistently denied any wrongdoing or knowledge of criminal conduct beyond what was publicly known at the time. Meanwhile, Sarah Ferguson was also in contact with Epstein. Financial stress loomed large. In one exchange, she expressed anxiety about her tax situation and personal debts, writing that she needed clarity. "So I can sleep at night." Epstein offered assistance. It later emerged that he helped settle portions of her financial obligations. Ferguson has said she deeply regretted accepting financial support from Epstein. And then there was Peter Mandelson. Emails from mid-June 2010 show Mandelson discussing upcoming meetings with Jess Staley and asking Epstein what topics he should raise. Epstein, positioning himself as strategic advisor, suggested outreach to high-level financial executives such as Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan. Mandelson forwarded business plans for Epstein's review. In return, Epstein appeared to request favors, such as arranging privileged access for an associate to tour Parliament. Mandelson has stated that he has cooperated fully with any inquiries, and has denied knowledge of Epstein's criminal activities beyond the public record. The picture that emerges from those 72 hours is not of a passive acquaintance. It is of a man orchestrating introductions, advising powerful individuals, and inserting himself into elite British conversations, despite a conviction that should have isolated him. This dynamic raises a broader question. How did Epstein maintain relevance after exposure? Part of the answer lies in reputation inertia. For years, he had cultivated an image of intellectual sophistication and financial genius. He donated to universities, he funded research, he courted scientists and economists. His Manhattan townhouse became a salon for influence. Even after 2008, some associates appear to have treated his conviction as an unfortunate blemish rather than a defining truth. Others claimed ignorance of the full scale of allegations. But history has shown that elite networks often resist disruption. Access is currency, and Epstein had long mastered the art of making himself useful, introducing people, facilitating meetings, suggesting opportunities. In 2019, when Epstein was arrested again on federal sex trafficking charges, the world began revisiting those earlier connections with new intensity. His death in a New York jail cell later that year ruled a suicide, ignited global speculation and conspiracy theories. Public trust in institutions, legal, political, financial, took another blow. Now, as additional documents and emails surface, scrutiny has returned with renewed force. Investigations into past relationships, judgment calls, and possible misconduct continue to unfold. The names attached to Epstein's network carry weight: royalty, cabinet ministers, banking executives, cultural elites. The central tension remains: how could someone convicted of exploiting vulnerable girls continue to move within elite circles? Was it denial, calculation, or a belief that power shields its own? The emails from June 2010 do not answer every question. They do not prove criminal collaboration, but they reveal proximity, comfort, routine exchange. They show a man officially disgraced yet operationally active. And perhaps that is the most disturbing detail of all. Epstein did not need to stand in a London boardroom to influence it. He did not need to walk through the gates of Buckingham Palace to connect those who could. He was always emailing, always advising, always available. Today, the reputations of those once linked to him continue to face scrutiny. Some deny wrongdoing, some acknowledge poor judgment, some insist they were unaware of the depth of his crimes. Legal processes remain ongoing in various jurisdictions, but beyond individual accountability lies a deeper question about systems of power. When someone like Epstein thrives even after exposure, it suggests something structural. Influence insulated him. Status normalized him. Networks protected him until they no longer could. The story is not simply about one man. It is about how prestige can eclipse morality, how access can override caution, how reputation can outlast conviction. The newly examined correspondence offers a snapshot, 72 hours in 2010, that illuminate a much wider pattern. A convicted sex offender under house arrest, advising princes and politicians as though scandal were a minor inconvenience. The world now looks back with sharper eyes. In an era of digital archives and investigative journalism, private emails rarely stay buried. Every message becomes a thread, every introduction a potential liability. And as more documents emerge, one truth becomes unavoidable: Epstein's greatest asset was not money. It was proximity to power. The real question is not whether he sent the emails. It is why they were welcomed. And somewhere in inboxes yet unopened, in archives not yet examined, there may still be messages waiting, quiet reminders of how close influence and impunity once stood. The story is not over.